What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the overall market thus far, some big news that just came out, what you should be watching for as time progresses. Before I break the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit $500 into the account, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks, and software ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, I just want to call out the way that this thing is moving. So we had a very, very interesting trend on Tesla approaching its deliveries. Tesla was looking very, very bearish before because we not only broke this structure right over here, but Tesla was downtrending for many, many days. Tesla was at 184, came all the way down to 162 after deliveries came out. It was on a slight downtrend as time progressed. Then we got a big drop from 175 all the way down to 162 in just one day after deliveries came out below expectations. But since then, after Tesla dropped over 5% from that move and it's been down since, closing down 4.9% yesterday, Tesla's now trying to reaccumulate and it's trying to actually bounce. So I want to break down how this is looking. You could see we had 162 as our bottom. We rebounded a little bit. Then we came down again, but we made a higher low at 163.3 around that area. And then Tesla's now trying to make its way back up. So now that we closed above 168 and we're seeing a change in this structure, Tesla is showing some potential to try to bounce and push a little bit higher, especially going into tomorrow. So I'm going to break down more details about this. Same thing with the market, as SPY also has similar potential. But I want to first talk about the data and stuff that come out first before I break down the charts. So what's happening with data? As a reminder, Jerome Powell gave a speech today. He was kind of in the middle. He did say some things that were, I would say, not really super hawkish, but not super dovish, but a little bit more in favor of hawks, because he was saying that first off, the Fed is open to cutting rates for this year. The market did like that, but then he started saying that the road to that 2% inflationary target could be a little bit bumpy. He also mentioned that the Fed has work to do. They have to be very careful and they have to continue to monitor the situation. He said the Fed is technically not ready to cut rates right now. They may be ready in the future, even for this year, but they need more data to look at. They need more good data for them to make that move. So they don't want to cut rates too early. They don't want to hold them for too long. They want to be making the right move at the right time, and to do so, they need more data. People were thinking that the Fed would cut rates as soon as June, but I don't think that's going to happen. Right now, it seems more likely that's going to happen later on as we approach the end of the year, as we approach like September and beyond. Now, here's the thing about the markets. You have to remember that inflation is dictating the Fed's policies. And one thing that's not so good is the fact that when we look at the data that came out yesterday, especially forward-looking data like new orders and prices for manufacturing, it is showing some signs that inflation could actually go up a little bit. That's why the market dumped a bit for the last couple of days. And then on top of that, crude oil is going up a bit. That's also a big red flag. So that's why Powell's tone was a little bit more stern today, which led the market to moving a little bit differently. So I'm going to break down more about that later. I also want to note that for tomorrow is going to be Thursday, April 4th. We have quite a bit of data coming out, so make sure you watch for this. An hour before the market opens at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have exports and imports coming out. That's going to be the balance of trade. And then we also have initial jobless claims coming out. That's going to be quite important. The Fed said they're going to continue to monitor the labor market. That's going to be important too. So we'll see what this data looks like. I'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about that. And then at 11:30 a.m., we have the bill auctions coming out. And then starting at 12:15 p.m. up until the rest of the day, we have a bunch of Fed speakers from Barkin, Mester, Kugler, and the list goes on. So the main time to watch for volatility is going to be the morning at 8:30 a.m. when we have exports and imports and initial jobless claims. And some bill auctions throughout the day could cause some volatility besides the Fed speakers later on. So that's it for data. As a quick reminder, we had some earnings. We just had Levi's announce its earnings. I want to talk about this very briefly. That's the only one I find to be a little bit more worthwhile. For Levi's, they beat on EPS and revenue, which is not bad whatsoever. Their e-commerce sales went up a bit, so good for them. Good to see this happening, beating earnings. They also rose its full year guidance by 1 to 3%, so that's why the share price is up, so that's good for them. If you're interested in trading this, you could trade this tomorrow. For data involving the markets, I want to show you all that right now we're at greed. We were a little bit more greedy yesterday. We're still kind of stuck in that zone. We'll see if we get closer to extreme greed or closer to neutral. That's going to be very important. Other indicators are at greed, but the puts and call positioning is going up just a little bit. We're seeing a little bit more put buying in the markets, at least from the last day and a half. And then we'll see what happens with this. It's not really causing much for the markets, but what's more concerning to me is the market volatility, the VIX. The VIX broke past the 50 daily moving average, but the VIX is starting to reject. We have a big gap below. If the VIX starts falling to fill its gap, this could be because of the market getting a big bounce. If the VIX does the opposite, if it keeps breaking out, that would be bearish for the markets. As of right now, it's starting to look a bit more like the VIX is going to fall, and this is going to be because of the market pumping. That's a real possibility. So we'll have to wait and see. I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. There's not really anything going on with SPY's option chain for tomorrow. It's very minor. We have very, very few amounts of calls and puts expiring, which is why the market has more leeway. But as far as Tesla goes, we're seeing some new headlines coming out. So I made a video about this, about why Kathy Wood is still bullish on Tesla. The reason I call her out is because I do agree with a lot of her points about the future. Not saying she's perfect, not saying she's always correct, but I do believe that she has good points about Tesla. She has a $2,000 price target for Tesla. She's saying it may take years, but she's still very bullish overall. She's saying don't let this move to the downside get the best of you. And I do believe that I agree with her points. And she's also saying that FSD and their robo-taxi is going to be massive for them, a multi-trillion-dollar business Tesla's entering. And she's kind of reminding investors to not really panic too much. Don't let the fear get the best of you. Look at this as an opportunity and be optimistic. It's the same thing I've been telling you as well. Now, for other pieces of news, we have some negative news that came out. JP Morgan did cut their targets on Tesla. They're basically, let me just close this for 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. They cut their targets on Tesla. They're saying 32% downside after the deliveries miss. It's not the best of news. When this news came out already, Tesla actually didn't really drop that much. But we'll see if this ends up affecting them. They're even saying that after a 59% decline, valuation is still demanding, and Tesla is still in a very, very interesting place. They reiterated their underweight rating for Tesla, saying that it's going to drop to 115 from the 130 target before, seeing 31% downside potential, which is it's still a possibility Tesla drops to low levels like that. Of course, I'm not really ruling this out, but for the short term, the chart does show something different, that Tesla will maybe try to bounce a little bit just temporarily before we see any other moves like that. Now, Baird gave Tesla an outperform rating. Deutsche Bank gave Tesla a buy rating. Oppenheimer gave it basically a performance rating, meaning it's going to perform equally with the markets. And Wells Fargo gave Tesla a underweight rating. So we're seeing most ratings kind of in the middle for Tesla. Some are good, some are bad. But then we also have others like Morgan Stanley, which have more bearish ratings. We had the price price ratio drop quite a bit. We'll see if we get a little bounce from here as Tesla started to build a little bit of strength today. In terms of seasonality, Tesla tends to be green only about 48% of the time on Thursdays. March is historically a good month for Tesla, but we're off to a no, I'm sorry, April tends to be a good month for Tesla, but we're off to a bad start so far because of deliveries. We'll see if anything changes as we approach earnings. Watch for seasonality and volatility at 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then at 2 p.m. Tesla tends to be more volatile historically. And that is it for data on this end. Last thing is going to be our volume. Our volume on Tesla is a little bit low right now, only 2.5 million. That's why Tesla saw a lot of choppy price action. We're not really seeing as much stepping in. And also the short volume is going up to about what is this? 60% of the overall volume is just short. So pretty crazy stuff. So that being said, we're seeing some shifts in Tesla. A lot of shorts have been piling in, and the shorts are up quite a bit. So now I just want to focus a lot more on what's happening with the charts. So let's talk about the chart. How is the chart looking for Tesla? Like I said earlier, we have a nice change in market structure. Tesla's making this higher, a low rate over here is trying to push upwards, and we have our 50 EMA around 170 coming as resistance. If it breaks through this, we could push all the way up towards this imbalance to at least almost 173, maybe a little bit under that. So I'm seeing some potential on our hourly time frame. Let me also add that when you look at the 4-hour time frame, a very similar structure is developing on the chart. The 4-hour is also showing signs that Tesla wants to, let me just double check this, is trying to bounce as well in the 4-hour. I'm seeing some potential right over here too for 170 plus. So the chart does look a little bit more bullish on Tesla. It's showing some life. So I do think that it's very probable we get a bounce tomorrow, but this could be wrong if we get bad news. It also depends on the news. If a big bad piece of news comes out, that could be our big exception. That's why you want to be prepared for anything, but I do favor more upside looking at this chart. So if we're bearish, hypothetically, although it's looking less likely, watch 167.8 as support. If we lose that, watch 165. We have an imbalance there as well. If we're bullish, you want to see it break 170. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a push for 172.75, followed by 174. What do I favor? I think that the chart is showing a higher low being established, and Tesla is turning indicators are turning bullish. I am seeing signals of Tesla trying to get up to at least 170, if not 172.75 for a push tomorrow. So I do favor upside a bit more on Tesla based off technicals, but just to be safe, always remember that data can also affect it, such as what comes out on the news. How about for SPY? How is SPY looking in my opinion? It was a pretty insane day on SPY today. We got this big push in the morning, especially after the data came out. Then we started to see sideways price action. We got this big drop followed by a big bounce. That's forming a wick, and overall SPY is showing some potential. Now, with this uptrend being established on SPY, I just want to note that this is showing improvements. And I think that right now the bulls have a bit of an edge because we got this wick right here and they ended up defending it as SPY is back to 520. Now, if I go back on the chart all the way back to about the 13th of March, I saw this somewhere on the hourly time frame. We actually saw something very similar happen where SPY right over here where my cursor is, we had this big wick that formed right here, right? I have this circled right here, so I'm going to circle it with my cursor. You guys could see SPY came down at the end of the day, and then the next day it pushed right back up before it ended up falling again. We don't have to like fall this hard the next day tomorrow. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but what this means is generally when you see wicks down like this, we get a big move to the upside. So there's a very good chance SPY might see a push to the upside coming very soon. So right now, the chart on SPY is favoring the upside a bit more. It's favoring the upside. This does favor a move to the upside, in my opinion. And we're on a somewhat uptrend. It's like very slow. It's not the strongest one, but we are uptrending slowly. So for tomorrow, watch resistance at 520. If we break this, watch 521. If that breaks, we could go all the way up to 522.25, followed by higher levels up there like 524. If we lose 519, watch 517.5, potentially even 516.5. With this uptrend being established, I believe that SPY could actually dip a bit, test this support, then start pushing back up higher into these higher levels towards 521 or higher, or we could even break from here all the way up to 521 to 522 and push to higher levels. In my opinion, the chart is looking a bit more bullish, and I see some potential for SPY to push higher. So that's what I'm seeing for SPY. I'm seeing more and more potential for this to go up higher, and I do think that this may uptrend. I will change my opinion if we lose 519, but as of right now, the chart favors the bulls. For the QQQ, it's the same thing. We have a nice uptrend right over here. Watch resistance at this 444 area and also around 446. Watch support at 442. If we lose this, we're going to be coming all the way down to 440, followed by 438. My gut tells me there's a slight uptrend right here. We could come down a little bit on the QQQ, then start pushing up to this resistance at 444, then fill this gap at 445, and eventually just push for 446. So I'm seeing a slight uptrend on the QQQ. I'm seeing this nice potential liquidity grab. It's going to be dictated by Nvidia as well. So I do see some potential for this to push higher. And we have this interesting trend where it likes to kind of like push up, dip a bit, push up, dip a bit, and maybe push up again. So I see potential on the QQQ to try to follow the trend and push a little bit higher, right? For Nvidia is not looking that great because when you zoom out of the chart, you will notice that we have a head and shoulders, a very, very clear looking head and shoulders. There's a left shoulder here, a head and a right shoulder, and it's been on a big downtrend for the last couple of weeks. So Nvidia is not looking that great. So with Nvidia falling, we have this very, very common looking range where it loves to be stuck between 908 as resistance and 892 as support. It's been stuck in this range for quite some time. There were some instances where it came back down, but it's very, very attracted to this area. So for tomorrow, we might be testing 892. If we do break through this, we'll look for another test of 900, and we might just chop in this range for some time, in my opinion. If we lose 877, we turn a lot more bearish. We're not really there yet, and I do see potential for it to come down and then try to bounce in this range and then trade sideways up here. So that's what I'm seeing for Nvidia thus far. We'll have to see if we get a bounce or not, but that's what I'm seeing on our trend. For Apple, Apple, in my opinion, is looking decent, not horrible, not great either. So it got a little break from this resistance, came up to about 170.6 something, which is a little bit not really up to about 171, a little bit low from that resistance. Then we came down. We're currently in the 169 area. Watch support at 169. Then this 168 point something area, depending on the timing, is going to be our next support. We have 170's resistance and then 171. Now, with us breaking from this trend, we're coming down a bit, possibly forming a bull flag, but we have to get a bounce and a breakout above 170.5 to start pushing up to about 171.5 as well. But overall, I just want to say that there's some potential considering that there's an inverse head and shoulders like structure on Apple, but we need a confirmation. We need to see a big bounce. I need to see Apple get back above 170.5 at the very least and try to fill this imbalance towards 171.5. So there's potential in the pattern, but the chart is not looking that strong for now. So we'll have to see if we get a bounce and a break above 170.5. but there's potential in Apple. Not the strongest, but there is some potential in it nonetheless. With that being said, I went over the main five I typically go over. Now let's just go over a couple more, but I'm going to be a little bit quicker with this. There's an inverse head and shoulders like structure developing on Palantir, and I could see this thing attempts to push higher, but we have to see a breakup of 23. If it breaks that, watch 23.75 at our 200 EMA. The 4 hour time frame is also showing life on Palantir, but we need to see this thing break through 23. If we break this, we're going to be pushing all the way up to 24, almost 24. So I'm seeing some life in Palantir, but it needs more confirmation to get a break. It needs to try to hold above its 200 EMA. So we'll see if we get that push or not. There is some potential in Palantir. For Supermicro, this is looking a little more bullish. Uh, we're trying to hold above 1,000. If we hold this, we're going to be looking for a push for 1,050 all over again. And if we break past that, look for higher levels up there. So there's 1,020, excuse me, then 1,050. For support watch 980, I believe that Supermicro has potential to push higher. So we might be looking for a push for over 1,050 as long as we hold above 1,000. For Rivian, we're showing a little bit of life. We're just trading sideways in a range right now, but the issue is that it's kind of stuck for now. So there's a little life as it's holding up, but there's not much going on. Could see a test of about 10.68 and back down. It's a little pop then drop. For SoFi, we're showing more strength because of what Jerome Powell said. It actually really liked it, but be careful because we're at resistance. If we hold and break above 7.6 ish. We're going to be looking for 7.76 coming next. If we reject off that area, we're going to be coming back down to 7.35. It does have potential to push higher, so watch for that. For AMD, I'm seeing a little bit of life here, but we're still stuck within our range. So remember the range I called out. We have 182.39 as resistance, and we have 177.68 as support. It's been going back and forth for many, many weeks. We want to see this thing break above 182 to start pushing higher. As of right now, it's stuck in this range, so whichever way it breaks will determine the bigger move, but it has potential to try to push above 182 to push up towards 185 plus, but it needs more time. ARM is showing a little bit of life. We want to see this thing test 126.5 tomorrow. I think it might test that. We'll see if it rejects or not. If it breaks through this, watch 128.7. If it fails, here it's going to come back down, so watch for that very carefully. For Coinbase, I'm seeing some life on this. Watch, a test of 252 is coming tomorrow. If we get a rejection off that, it's going to be coming all the way back down to about 240. If you get a big rejection, if it breaks through this, we're going to be pushing much higher towards the 260 area. So one concern is we have a head and shoulders, which suggests it could get a rejection, but just to be safe, you want to be watching for confirmation. I could also take a trend line like this and kind of like draw out this resistance right about here. It's very close to this. So we'll see how it does. This is going to be a little bit tricky. So let's hope for the best for Coinbase. But we're at resistance. If we get a rejection off this resistance, it's going to be coming down hard. If we break through this, we could be pushing. So I'd be watching for that very carefully. For Amazon, we're looking more bullish right now on a very, very nice uptrend. Watch resistance at 183. If we break this, we could be pushing for 184. The chart looks a bit more bullish, but we did reject off this area before. Might come down first and then push higher. So far, so good. For Meta is showing some life. It could come down a bit, then push up for about 512. We'll have to see if we end up getting a break like that. Overall, it's showing some life. I do see potential in this. For Microsoft, right, we're kind of trading sideways right here. We're going to be looking for some resistance at 422. We also have the support around this 419 zone. I'm seeing some potential for it to test 422, but it's kind of stationary, not really doing a whole lot for now. So it's kind of taking a breather. Uh, Google's looking a little concerning to me because we have this big wick that formed a rejection. Watch support. So we have resistance first off at 156. It's going to be tough to break. Support's at 154. If we lose that, we could be dropping all the way down to about 151. So just be careful. It is looking like it might reject, but there's no confirmation for break yet. It's still kind of trading sideways, but the chart is looking a little concerning to me and it does favor bears a little bit more, but watch for confirmation just to be safe. For the VIX is looking very interesting. It's actually showing some weakness in my honest opinion. I think that as we hit this high rate here, we're kind of turning. There is potential for it to come all the way down to about 13.7 or something like that. If we lose the support, a bigger drop is coming to fill this gap towards 12.9, around that area, 12.96. So I think the VIX could come down. It's looking a little bit more bearish. And this means that the market might actually push higher, causing the VIX to drop. But just to be safe, let's wait and see because I wouldn't solely depend on this. It's a strong possibility this comes down because of the market pumping. But just to be safe, I'm going to wait for confirmation tomorrow if we end up losing our EMAs. Now, what else is suggesting the market may go higher is the dollar. The dollar is looking weaker. It's got a big rejection off that 105 area. I was talking about that yesterday as my prediction. And now we're continuing to sink. So we still look bearish. Watch support at 104.05 or something like that, followed by 103.92. So it looks bearish right now. So we'll have to see how it goes. With that being said, right now the market is showing some strength, it's showing some life, and Tesla's also showing some life as well. So there is a very good chance that Tesla will try to bounce tomorrow, but as long as there's no bad news, it should bounce. That's what I'm trying to say. If there's a really bad piece of news, it could change everything. So you want to be careful. But technicals do suggest a bounce tomorrow, and Tesla should be going up to 170, if not 172.75 at the very least. All right, guys. So that is it for the video. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. Just know that there is potential in Tesla. I want to just say I really appreciate all of you guys leaving nice comments down there and below. It really means the world to me, and I really want the best for everyone out there. So have a great day, guys. Enjoy what you have to do. Today is one of my sister's birthdays, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time with her from this point on. And, just enjoy life, guys. Have a great time. Take care of your loved ones if you have a great relationship with them or anything like that. And take care. Just enjoy what life has to offer, even if it's on a Wednesday, even if it's on a Thursday. Life is short, guys. Do what's best for your own portfolios and your lives. And I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning. Thank you for listening. Have a great day and peace out.